Hello my dear friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. In our previous video, we discussed about the concept of chemical reaction and some of the activities. So in our today's session, let us discuss about the concept of chemical equation and balancing the chemical equation. So first of all, what is meant by chemical equation? So ನಿನ್ನೆ last class ಅಲ್ಲಿ example ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ magnesium ribbon. So when the magnesium ribbon burns in the presence of oxygen, it will produce white powder. So ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೇಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲಾಬ್ರೇಟ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅದನ್ನ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರೀಬಹುದು? Magnesium burns in the presence of oxygen, it produces white powder of magnesium oxide. Correct? So in the simplify ಹೇಗೆ ಬರೀಬಹುದು? In the place of name, you can write the symbol of the element. Magnesium Mg, oxygen O2, and magnesium oxide is MgO. So this is a method of writing the chemical equation. So here chemical equation is nothing but representation of the chemical reaction in the form of name or in the form of symbol of the element. It is called as chemical equation. So chemical equation is nothing but it is a representation of the chemical reaction in the form of name or in the form of symbol of the element is known as chemical equation. So here the substances which react together is called as reactants and the newly formed substance is called as product. The substances which react together are called as reactants and the newly formed substance is called as product, and the reactants are always written on the left hand side of the arrow mark and the products are always written on the right hand side of the arrow mark. Then here this arrow mark, arrowhead will shows direction towards the products. This arrowhead shows direction towards the products and upward arrow mark, it denotes the evolution of gas. Upward arrow mark denotes the evolution of gas. Downward arrow mark denotes the formation of precipitate. Formation of precipitate. These are the key points regarding the chemical equation. So reactants, products. Reactants are always written on the left hand side of the arrow mark. Products are written on the right hand side. Arrowhead, it shows the direction towards the products, and upward arrow mark shows evolution of gas. Downward arrow mark shows formation of precipitate. So next ನೋಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್. ಸೊ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಅದರ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ how to balance the chemical equation. So our next concept is balancing chemical equation. It is one of the most important concept in this chapter. So first of all, ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ವೈ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ದ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್? ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಹಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈ ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಸ್, in order to satisfy the law of conservation of mass, we have to balance the chemical equation. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ನ ರೀಸನಿಂಗ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. We have to balance the chemical equation. Why? Or chemical equation have to be balanced. Why? So in order to satisfy the law of conservation of mass, we have to balance the chemical equation. However, what is meant by law of conservation of mass? Mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. Correct? 9th ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು ನಿಮಗೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಅದು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ we have to balance the chemical equation. Why ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು? So for that purpose we have to follow some of the steps. So I will explain the steps of balancing the chemical equation with the help of example. So ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, when iron react with water it gives ferric oxide and evolution of hydrogen gas. This is the example. So in order to balance the chemical equation, we have to follow some of the steps. Number 1, first draw the box around each element or each formula of the reaction. So first you have to draw the box around each element or each substance. Then you are not supposed to do any changes inside the box. ಈ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಏನು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್, then after writing the chemical equation, you have to count and compare the number of elements present in the reactant side and the number of elements present in the product side. Element, number of atoms present in reactant side, number of elements, so number of atoms present in product side. So first one is iron, second one is hydrogen, and third one is oxygen. So in the reactant side, there is a presence of only one iron atom. In the reactant product side, there are 3 iron atoms. So with respect to hydrogen, reactant side 2, product side 2. Oxygen, reactant side 1, product side 4. ಇದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕೌಂಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ದ number of elements present in the reactant side and number of elements present in the product side. So after that, step 3. So in the step 3, you have to start balancing the chemical equation. For that purpose, we are giving some of the priorities to some of the elements. So for example, ಇಲ್ಲಿ metal ಇದೆ, non metal ಇದೆ, correct? So ಅದಕ್ಕೆ we have to follow some of the priorities. So during the priority, the first priority goes to the polyatomic groups. Polyatomic groups. So while balancing the chemical equation, first you have to balance the polyatomic groups, and after that you have to balance the metals. Third one, you have to balance the non-metals. You have to balance the non-metals other than hydrogen and oxygen. ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ನಾನ್ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ದ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ priority list. So first you have to balance the polyatomic groups, then you have to balance the metals, non-metals other than hydrogen and oxygen. At lastly you have to balance the hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ so first polyatomic groups, there is no polyatomic groups in this chemical equation. So then you have to balance the metals. So here iron is a metal. So in the reactant side there is only one iron, but in the product side there are 3 iron atoms. So you have to multiply by 3 with respect to reactant side. Then it becomes 3. So here 3. Then after that you have to balance the non-metals other than hydrogen and oxygen. There are no non-metals other than hydrogen and oxygen. So after that you have to balance the hydrogen. So hydrogen, reactant side 2, product side 2. So there is no issues. Then after that you have to balance the oxygen. So oxygen in the reactant side there is only one oxygen, but in product side there are 4 oxygen atoms. Then after that you have to multiply by 4 in the reactant side, then it becomes 4H2O. Okay, but ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆಯೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ರಾಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ದ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ along with the oxygen there is a presence of hydrogen atoms. So then this 2 becomes 8, correct? So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ, ಬಟ್ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಇಂಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ here hydrogen becomes 8. Then for that purpose you have to multiply by 4 in the product side. Okay, so product side for 8 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಿಬೇಕು? ಸೊ here 4. Okay, so then so ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಇವಾಗ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ there is a presence of 3 iron atoms in the reactant side 3 iron atoms in the product side. Then there is a presence of 8 hydrogen atoms in the reactant side, 8 in the product side. Then 4 oxygen atoms in the reactant side, 4 in the product side. ಇಲ್ಲಿ complete ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? So and the final equation is 3Fe plus 4H2O. It gives Fe3O4 plus 4H2. This is the final balanced chemical equation. So here, so far we explained the steps regarding the balancing chemical equation. ಇಷ್ಟು ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಎನಫ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಇನ್ನೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ, in order to make our equation more informative, we can write the state of each chemical substance. So state means physical state. So here for solid state we written as small s. For liquid state we written L. For gaseous state we written as G. And for the aqueous state just written as AQ. So agar ನಿಮಗೆ solid, liquid, gases ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, what is meant by aqueous state? So aqueous state is nothing but, so in this state the solvent must be water. So ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಲ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಾಲ್ವೆಂಟ್ ಟೂ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಸಾಲ್ವೆಂಟ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ವಾಟರ್. ಸೊ ಸಾಲ್ವೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ವಾಟರ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ that state is called as aqueous state. So here iron is solid state, water, as you know, water is present in the liquid state, but in this chemical reaction the water is present in the form of water vapors, that's why it is G. Then Fe3O4 solid, hydrogen gas. So this is the final completely informative chemical equation of this chemical reaction. So in this today's session, so far we discussed about the concept of chemical equations and steps of balancing the chemical equation. So ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. So in our next upcoming videos we will discuss about more chemical equations. Okay,
ಮತ್ತೆ ಭೇಟಿಯಾಗೋಣ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.